All right, today we're going way beyond just learning faster. We are talking about installing a brand new operating system for your brain. One that's built on the blueprints of some of history's greatest minds and the hard science of how our brains actually work. So, let's get into it.
Okay, let me start with a question that honestly sounds a little bit like a brain teaser. How can you get 10 times the amount of practice, 10 times the reps, by doing absolutely nothing? I know it sounds nuts, but the answer to this is the key that's going to unlock everything else we talk about today.
So the answer isn't some kind of magic trick. It actually comes straight from neuroscience. Researchers have found this incredible and kind of counterintuitive learning accelerator. And it all comes down to this number, 10. A 10x multiplier that can literally change the game for how fast you pick up any new skill.
And here it is. This is the big reveal. It's all about strategic rest. Neuroimaging studies, where they actually watch the brain in action, have shown that when you're learning something new, if you just take these little random 10-second breaks, your hippocampus goes into overdrive. It starts replaying the information you just learned at 10 to 20 times the normal speed. Just think about that for a second. You get more practice, more reps, by stopping than you do by grinding it out. It's called the gap effect, and it's proof that doing nothing is one of the most productive learning tools you have.
Okay, so that little neuroscience trick is our entry point. And it brings us to part one, the polymath playbook. If we really want to build this new learning architecture, we have to look at the people who are masters of it, the polymaths, the ones who seem to master totally different fields. What exactly are they doing that the rest of us just aren't?
Well, the first thing they do is actually something they avoid. It's this mental trap called the Einstein effect. Basically, it's when you become so good at something, your own expertise becomes a cage. You've got this one great solution in your head, and it gets so locked in that you literally can't see other, sometimes way better options. It's like having a great hammer, and suddenly every problem looks like a nail. Polymaths get around this because they're always learning something new, always being a beginner again. It keeps their minds wide open.
And that leads to a totally different strategy for mastery. Look, the specialist, they're trying to be the top 1% in one very specific thing. And let's be honest, that is brutally difficult. But the polymath, they have a different goal. They aim to be in the top 25%, pretty darn good, in several different fields. Now, not only is that way more achievable, but when you combine those skills, you create something unique, something rare, and often something way more valuable. We call this skill stacking.
Let's make this real. Imagine someone who's, say, in the top 25% for coding, and also top 25% for graphic design, and for marketing and public speaking. Now, are they the best coder in the world? Nope. The best designer? Probably not. But when you stack all those skills together, what do you have? You have someone who can literally build a product, make it look good, market it, and get up on a stage and sell it. That combination is incredibly powerful. That's their superpower.
So this whole idea of stacking skills, it leads to something called the Medici effect. It's named after the famous family who basically funded the Renaissance, a time when artists, scientists, and philosophers all came together. The big idea is this: real breakthrough innovation, it almost never happens inside a single field. It happens at the intersections, where different disciplines crash into each other. So when you stack skills, you're not just adding 1 + 1 + 1, you're multiplying them. That's the secret sauce, connecting things no one else thought to connect.
Okay, so we've seen what the polymaths do, but why does it work so well? Well, the answer is hidden in the brain's own rulebook, the fundamental ways we are wired to learn. Which brings us to the real question for part two. What does neuroscience tell us that you and I are almost certainly doing wrong?
First up, we have this obsession with getting everything right. But it turns out, our brains don't learn from being perfect. They learn from making mistakes. But there's a Goldilocks zone. The research points to an optimal error rate of about 15%. Think about it. If you're getting everything right, you're bored. It's too easy. If you're getting everything wrong, you're frustrated and you'll probably quit. But failing about 15% of the time, that means you're on the absolute edge of your abilities. And that's exactly where the brain goes, okay, pay attention, this is important. That's where real growth happens.
Next, let's talk about something that is 100% non-negotiable: sleep. And specifically, these things called sleep spindles. They're these little bursts of super fast brain activity that happen when you're in deep non-REM sleep. The best way to think of them is as your brain's save button, for real. This is the moment your brain takes what you learned today and moves it from short-term holding into long-term memory. If you don't get enough quality sleep, you don't get enough sleep spindles. And if that happens, you might as well not have bothered learning anything that day. It's just gone.
So what about when we're awake? You know, the whole hustle culture thing tells us to focus for hours and hours, but your brain's biology just flat out disagrees. We all run on these things called ultradian rhythms, these natural cycles that happen all day long. And when it comes to intense, deep focus, your brain has a hard limit. It's about 90 minutes. After that, your performance doesn't just dip, it falls off a cliff. Trying to push past that isn't discipline. It's just fighting your own biology, and you will lose.
So if we can't just power through, how do we work with these cycles? Well, say hello to NSDR, or non-sleep deep rest. This could be something like meditation or yoga nidra script, basically protocols that guide your brain into a state of really deep rest. And here's the amazing part. Brain scans show that NSDR can actually trigger the same memory consolidation process that happens when you're sleeping. It's like having access to your brain's save button during the day. This isn't some fluffy optional add-on. It's a critical tool for accelerated learning.
All right, so now we've got the polymath's playbook on one side and the brain's hidden rules on the other. This is where we bring it all together. What is the one big shift, the one change in architecture that makes everything else click into place and start compounding?
And here it is. This is the fundamental shift. For years, the old way of learning has been content first, right? We obsess over finding the perfect book, the ultimate online course, the one secret piece of information. But the new model, the architecture we're talking about, is state first. It means you focus on managing your brain's biological state first. Your sleep, your focus, your rest, that 15% error rate. You get all of that right before you even open the book. Why? Because you can have the best information on planet Earth, but if your brain isn't in a state to receive it, it's completely useless.
And when you make this shift, you kickstart this amazing compounding flow. It's so simple. Step 1, you optimize your biological state. Get your brain ready. That unlocks step 2. You can now actually use all those powerful learning tools we talked about, like skill stacking or the 10-second pause. And the result? Step 3. Your skill acquisition just takes off. It accelerates. And then it loops back, making a whole process even easier the next time. It just builds and builds.
So look, the strategies of the polymath, they're not some kind of magic. They work for a very simple reason. They are perfectly aligned with the brain's hidden rules. But here's the bottom line. Both of those things, the clever strategies and the deep science, they are worth absolutely nothing if the foundation, your own biological state, isn't managed first.
Okay, we're not going to wrap this up with a nice, neat little summary. Instead, I'm going to leave you with a challenge. A direct challenge, actually. To take this new architecture out of the realm of theory and put it into practice. Not next month, not next week, but starting today.
Think about all the tools we just covered. Those 10-second pauses, deliberately aiming for that 15% error rate, actually respecting that 90-minute focus limit, or maybe trying a 20-minute NSDR session. Look, the question is not, do these things work? We know they do. The only question that matters right now is this. Which one of these protocols will you execute before this time tomorrow? Which one will be the first step in installing your new operating system? That choice is all yours.